All right, so for Word of the Day posters, here's what you do. I'm going to assign you a word of the day. Probably one or two or three of you will have the same word of the day. Based on what word of the day you have picked, you're going to do this. I'm going to take the first word of the day, cursor. What you do is open up a blank Microsoft PowerPoint. Right? So I've got a blank Microsoft PowerPoint here. And the very first page is called the title layout. This is where you're going to take the title, move it up, and then the second box, which is the subtitle section, actually make it bigger. And this is where you're going to put in the word and the definition. Now, if you're doing it correctly, you should be able to just kind of copy and paste it. So I'm going to highlight cursor. I'm going to copy it, paste it, bang, there it is. Reformats it, highlight the definition, and paste it. Now, if you can't figure that out, you can go ahead and retype it in. One thing you may want to do is maybe make these fonts a little bit bigger. Maybe make it black so it's a little bit darker. You can mess with those things. But I don't want you to pick a font that's so crazy that I can't read it. It needs to be a school-appropriate font. So I'm kind of moving these things around. That's your step one. Step two is to go on Google Images and find a picture of or having something to do with your word of the day. So this word of the day is cursor. Let me show you the issue with that. If I go to cursor, it shows me mouse cursors, hand cursor, mouse cursors, mouse pointer cursors. None of these are actually the definition of the blinking vertical line that shows where the next character you will type appears. So don't just type it into Google and say, oh yeah, that must be what it is because Google says so. You need to maybe adjust it slightly. Maybe I'll say blinking line. All right, blinking line. And as I go through, it doesn't really show me anything. All right, maybe this one I'll click right here, and you want to always click on see full size image. Meh, that one's okay, not great. So what I finally did to be able to find a good one, I'm going to say blinking line cursor. Expand it. Oh, okay, here's one that's actually kind of giving me a definition. I happen to know that there's a good one right here. And make sure you don't take this image. You want the full size image, so click on it. And it gives like a perfect arrow. There's the cursor. Now, once I find the picture I want, I'm going to right click on it and copy it. Go over to my word of the day, right click, paste it. And now there is the picture I want. It's going to cover up my words, so I'm going to go ahead and make it a little bit smaller. And this, you need to be able to manipulate these boxes, grabbing these handles, changing the size, something along these lines. You can have it dead center, you can have it off to the side. You don't want it, obviously, covering up your words. All right. And the idea of this is we are going to print this out and hang them up around the room. I want it to be big enough that it is a poster size. So if everything is size 12, you can't read it on a poster. It needs to be nice and clean and spelled correctly. All right. Once you have this done, go ahead and save it as WOD poster or Word of the Day poster. Save it inside your keyboarding folder because it's keyboarding Word of the Days. And we will print them out in color either today or on Monday.